Call. I'm the Artistic and Executive Director of the Lyric Theatre here in downtown Swift Current, Saskatchewan. It's my pleasure to welcome you this evening to Lyric Digital Stage Write Out Loud number 3 of our 2021-2022 season. Tonight's a special show. It's going to feature the author and poet Sheri Benning and Swift Current singer-songwriter who will be doing the musical interlude, Kearney, and the whole will be introduced by Andrea McCrimmon. Just before we get started, I want to remind us that we stand on Treaty 4 land. Treaty 4, the original lands of the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect and honor the treaties that were made on all territories, and we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. And we are committed to move forward in partnership with Indigenous nations in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We also stand in solidarity with all people who stand in opposition to oppression, lack of freedom of expression, and the violent oppression of free speech and basic human rights. We stand with members of the Black community, people of color, Indigenous peoples, 2S LGBTQ communities, people from disabled communities, and anyone who has suffered from oppression and violent suppression of basic human rights. Doesn't even have to be violent, quite frankly, just suppression of basic human rights. We stand with members who are in opposition to this of all communities, particularly in our own country, as these things do occur with frequency here as well as in other places. Okay, now it's time to begin. I want to pass the proceedings off to our host for this evening, Andrea McCrimmon. Take it away, Andrea.
Welcome on behalf of the Write Out Loud Committee. I'm Andrea McCrimmon. This month I have the pleasure of introducing author Sheri Benning. Sheri grew up on a farm in central Saskatchewan, Treaty 6 territory. She has a PhD from the University of Glasgow and teaches creative writing at the University of Saskatchewan. Sheri has just released her 4th collection of poetry, Field Requiem. Poems from this book have been published in a number of prominent literary magazines, and an excerpt was longlisted for the CBC Poetry Prize. Field Requiem bears witness to the violence inherent in the shift to industrialized farming in Prairie Canada. Her previous collections include The Season's Vagrant Light, New and Selected Poems, Thin Moon Psalm, and Earth After Rain. Thin Moon Psalm and Earth After Rain each won 2 Saskatchewan Book Awards. Thin Moon Psalm was also nominated for the Relit Poetry Prize and won the Alfred G. Bailey Manuscript Award. Her poems, essays, and short stories have appeared in North American, British, and European anthologies and literary magazines. Excerpts from her novel in progress have been shortlisted and longlisted for the CBC Short Story Prize, received honorable mention in the National Magazine Awards, and have been published or are forthcoming in Canadian and Scottish journals. In support of the novel, she's won grants from the Canada Council for the Arts and the Saskatchewan Arts Board. An early draft received a John V. Hicks Manuscript Award. Sheri's connected to our local area through her sister Heather Benning, who's an internationally acclaimed visual artist and who is also the director of the Art Gallery of Swift Current. They frequently collaborate, and most recently have debuted the short film Winter Sleep. It was written and produced by Sheri Benning and directed by Chad Galloway and Heather Benning, and I had the opportunity to narrate this film. To date, it's won awards in several film festivals, including the Montreal International Film Festival, the Cadence Video Poetry Film Festival, the Vancouver Independent Film Festival, the Yorkton Film Festival, and the Nature and Culture Poetry Film Festival in Copenhagen. It's also been featured in the Paris Review. You can watch the film Winter Sleep on Sheri's website, sheribenning.com, and have a look at her other brilliant books and articles. We're also happy to present a great musical guest for you, Mars Kearney. They're a 22-year-old non-binary songwriter raised right here in Swift Current. They used to perform with Maverick School, but have been recording and releasing their own music since graduating in 2018. They write music across genres, and their songs are always from the heart. Enjoy tonight's event.
Hi, I'm Sheri Benning. Before I begin, I want to thank everybody at Write Out Loud for this invitation to read. I'm going to start by reading from my collection, The Season's Vagrant Light, New and Selected Poems. This book contains work from my previous 2 books of poetry, Thin Moon Psalm, published by Brick Books, and Earth After Rain, published by Thistledown Press. The cover image is from my sister Heather Benning's work, The Dollhouse, a site-specific sculpture. The first poem I'm going to read is called What It Tastes Like, Hoarfrost. In near dark, when she's almost asleep, smell of coming rain, wet wool, a spore of the farm rises in her. Animals' shadow pulse. Her father in the barn. Rubber boots, manure, open door cedar light. Kitchen window weeping the beet soup loam. Sweat of someone you love. Hands thick with work and cold around a hot bowl. Autumn dusk in bled cloud. Loose straw, spilled oil, a concrete floor. Steams in between breath pause. Stars, tin, a drink of well water. As when you pull a stone from the river and hold it in your palm. The light is wrong. The next poem I'm going to read is seasonally appropriate. It's called November Light. November light, without a home, back bent on the corner of White and 105th in a torn jean jacket, cigarette smoke gray, muttering at passers-by about the darkness coming. Few listen, few even turn their heads. Light of that pig fetus in the dusty quart jar at the back of the grade 10 biology cupboard. Afraid to open your mail? Shadows under your eyes? When you think, do you just get sad? Not October light, the whiskey jack, drunk on fermented crab apples, dancing in the dying flames of the apple trees. Of bone ash and clay, which harden into something that can shatter. If you must, speak in hushed tones. The doe's coat turns dun, so she can hide in spaces cut by bare aspen branches near the Saskatchewan River. Only her wet-eyed stare is visible. November light, something unseen is watching. I grew up on a farm in rural central Saskatchewan, a diversified family farm. And even though I've lived in many different provinces in Canada and in different countries for work and for study, my poems often circle back to this home place. Wolverine Creek. Fall, when scraped fields show us the empty cathedral air inside us. Shrew sounds of leaves bleeding at a pace the eye can't hold. As a child, standing in willow kindle, grasses the yellow of grandma's dying arms, watching geese harrow a sky made more blue by the radiance of decay. Asking for a sign. If you are there, spell this in the furrow of geese. And always unable to decode their flight, to find the equation, a basket to heap meaning, Grandma's apron full of choke cherries, small questions, why in death the smell of estrus. But soon the geese over Wolverine, the creek that doglegs our lands. Standing in their wake, mind made small by another's height, left with the imprecision of loss, strewn choke cherries, their bee-sting taste. Learning, we reckon only through loss, the place where we begin. Bread, water. From the well to the porch, the nervous rasp of boots when snow is clenched tight as glass. Water to do the day's washing and baking. Look in. If you can see yourself inside the pocked metal pail, you understand. Water shows you who and where you are. Faint stars, moon, a pearl of salt down your brow. Words, like water, are shaped by gravity, if you can think of gravity as another way of saying memory. Just as river wearing an elbow-worn coat of last season's shells and leaves makes its way to the ocean, bread is this woman before dawn, making enough for the week, is the ripple of her muscles kneading the belly of dough, sigh of yeast as she folds each loaf, poplar snap in the wood stove, steam melting fronds of window frost, aerial pitch of stars, pearl of sweat moon, the word bread, an estuary, where tide gathers river, an old friend, into its arms, pulls it into heave and the familiar smell of salt. Bread, welcome. That song that goes. For no reason I can name, I look away from the book and see the moon deepen into golds and reds. Eastern sky, a sodden blue. Spring dusk is something to breathe deeply. Wet dirt, stubble, last year's leaves. And like a dream that comes back only when unasked for, I recall his hands from when I was a child. Rough wood, tobacco, metal of earth. A friend tells me of early gray mornings at his kitchen table. There was tea, the beginnings of a wood fire, his wife, bread, and the winter riverbed, the long, slow ache I carry inside, briefly fills with the singing of spring melt. Memory is that song the heart hums along with, the one without thinking, beneath breath. Alms. I held your hand when the doctor spoke, for fear that your touch was the last I'd feel before the weather cools, your life falling from you, plain as leaves from the poplars that shelter our farm. Hungry, wearing borrowed clothes. After the doctor left, I crouched in a stairwell. My eyes green gloss on a copper begging bowl. Most hurried past. A few did not turn away. Alms, simple food, bright coin of their gaze. This poem is called Plain Song. Driving home from Uncle Richard's, in the back seat with my brother and sister, weft of limbs, pearlescence of moonlit skin, shift and fall of their breath. My face against the car window to watch stars, and every mile a farm, yard lights, a voice in plain song. After feeding the cattle, Dave Saretsky stepping into his porch, borscht warming on the stove, ham bone, pepper, cloves. She's tucking in their youngest boy, her palm on his feverish cheek. After she and Dave will sleep in the space their bodies have learned to make from years of sharing blood, spit, loam. Blink of frost on wheat stalks, fields left in stubble to snare October's first snow squall. The tip of Dad's cigarette, knots of smoke, mother singing low to the radio, the gypsy light of stars and farms, a raw harmony, like the dark wave of geese lifting off the slough just east of our barns. Their winter homing, a folk song for the journey to where flesh might belong. Our farms sold, Dave's too. Uncle Richard died 17 years ago. Only now the light of this memory reaches me, its source gone. Feast. Choke cherries, spider webs, slough water spiced with lilac, speargrass, cattails, caragana pods, farm dead, drought, the locust drone of adult talk, girls come in for lunch, ignore mom's cries. Rhubarb stalks dipped in stolen sugar, shelled peas, carrots from the garden, dirt shaken off. Our table set in the smolder of sage, the river scent of wolf willow shade. Our feast made sweet by loss. And the last poem from this collection that I'll read is called Spring Rain, Glasgow. Rain, late spring, sings only this, stirs the scent of spear thistle, willow herb, the wych elm's rising sap, Glasgow's undertones, oil, wet sandstone, street dirt. I listen as though I might hear something to explain last winter when sky wore the pallor of cigarette smoke ash. Rain falls without answers or portents. I listen as though it might imply forgiveness, bud husk, crocus, juniper, mown grass. Thank you. In the next part, I'm going to read from my new collection of poetry, Field Requiem.
Hi, my name is Kearney. I'm a local singer-songwriter, and I am here to perform some songs for you. The very first song I'm going to sing for you is called Messy. I wrote this when I was actually supposed to be cleaning. That's the irony in it. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy it. When I dream, it's always you. There's a million things I want to say. The love that never felt more true. Sometimes my emotions get in the way. Hey. Eyebrows scrunch when you're mad. cars drive around in circles, know that you are the one. Love will last eternal. While it's crazy to think that we can be more than this. Thank you. So my next song that I'm gonna play for you is one that I wrote on a sticky note, actually. And I write a lot of my songs on a sticky note just so that I can have like some ideas that I can pull off the wall and just like write whenever I feel inspired. So this one is called Envy, and I hope you enjoy. I wish I was famous at the same time, but don't I like telling stories, but I wish you didn't know my face when you hear 'em. Oh, I act so shy when it comes to playing. Nothing beats the high playing live. Hear my songs on the radio, but not in my friend's car. Can't tell you the difference, but I'll pick it apart. I'll sit here for hours just working on my voice, saying someday I'll be famous when I make it through all the noise. And I'm envious of all the people who have beat the odds. Say it's a 1 in a million chance I'm better off fighting God. And I'll keep on singing till my lungs turn black and blue, till the curtains close, the lights turn off, and I can only sing for you. Yeah, I'm jealous. Oh, I'm jealous. I've tried to get famous, but I don't know what that means. Wrote songs for the attention, wrote less songs for me. Now every time I try to sing, it's to a different beat. I write a lot for someone who has barely caught their feet. Poured my heart out for all, standing here naked, high up, looking tall. Part of me thinks I'll make it. I won't lose hope, I won't give up. No, I'll keep on trying. Hear my songs on the radio, will I make it through all the quiet? And I'm envious of all the people who have beat the odds. Say it's a 1 in a million chance I'm better off fighting God. But I'll keep on singing till my lungs turn black and blue, till the curtains close, the lights turn off. I can only sing for you. Yeah, I'm jealous. Oh, I'm jealous. Yeah, I'm jealous. Oh, I'm jealous. Thank you. My next song I'm gonna sing for you is a song that I wrote in college. I attended a musical college, so it's very hard not to be inspired by the people who are around you. I wrote this song, and it's heavily inspired by the in-depth conversation we had about Hotel California. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. devil who wears sandals and smiles in your face. When my nails dig down your back, they leave a trace. I'm living with my snake eyes, don't trust my hand. I got such high hopes for living in quicksand. Ooh. Collecting the broken souls that always cry. Nothing but a stranger in a bus passing by. You told me you loved me, fell for my trap. I saw your contract, baby, you're never going back. Ooh. See the aces up my sleeve, dark circles are no joke. Wish I could limit myself, but I always choke. When you see me, don't run from me, I'll find my way. I'm fairly convincing, I know what makes you stay. Ooh. Thank you. So for my last song that I'm gonna play for you, I wrote this pretty recently. It's about a friend who you thought was a friend, but ended up not actually being your friend, and I think we've all been there before. But yeah, so this is called Out of My Head, and I hope you enjoy. I hate you more than I hate myself. Pity kept me on a shelf. I was there for every time you needed. How did I miss all this bleeding? Why does it hurt to let you go? Found all my worth on my own. Always making your excuses. Hope you got out all your uses. Please won't you look at me? Why won't you look at me? Why did I give you all of my secrets? Found my worth in your absence. You stole my favorite songs away, taught you the chords that you now play. I wish you were easy to forget. Won't you please just get out of my head? You're the poison, I'm the wine. Your toxic breath over mine. Comments keep on creeping. Oh, this town Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Write Out Loud. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, I'm now going to read from my new collection of poetry, Field Requiem, published by Kearney Press. Field Requiem will be available in Canada later this month. The cover image is also by my sister, Sheri Benning. Field Requiem bears witness to the shift in rural Saskatchewan from diversified family farming to an agribusiness model of intensive farming practices. The poems consider the social and ecological harm generated by this shift. Winter sleep. Wheat threshed, casks of cherries, plums, boiled melon, beef tallow, pig bladders blown and tossed by children, mothers stirring stock, kidneys, hearts pressed with aspic, casings scraped and stuffed, allspice, cloves. Fields bare, packed clay, porcelain sheen, the long winter sleep. In my dream, I wake and the village is empty, coal smoldering, acacia shadows on snow, second suns, sow thistle, the first to go. In my dream, I wake to chaff and dust, a war lost, harvest thrown down, grain scattered on the temple floor. In my dream, I wake hungry, an ocean away, in a hut hollowed out of the side of a hill, black sea salt in my mouth, wild onion, sage, hawkweed, prickly rose, plowed dirt worked thin as smoke, poplar scrub felled and bucked into windrows to make way for electric blooms, Monsanto Roundup ready canola. What we had wasn't enough. Silk, balsam, communal granaries full. We were told to take what the master had given us and multiply it tenfold. In my dream, I wake in the attic bedroom of a mail-order farmhouse, 160 acres seeded in barley and oats, a few brood hens, 5 head of cattle, 3 hitch binder, a trotter, 2 heavy horses. We were told to take what we did not lay down, reap what we did not sow. I wake to 6,000 acres, high clearance sprayers with 140-foot booms, sulfur, phosphorus, nitrogen, potash, harvest done by drone, yields downloaded into $750,000 air seeders come spring. We were told to those who have, more will be given. Viterra's actuaries betting on futures markets, brokering grain they don't own. We were told those with nothing, even that will be taken away. Just look at those who stayed. In my dream, the men from Grunau found heads down, shoulder to shoulder, tongues nailed to the dining table. Or Alex Soretsky from Tiganord, blood pouring from his wrists, hands cut off by Machnovists requisitioning his cattle. In my dream, we tell these stories to our babies in their cradles. The lesson of the parable? What good is your labor if the fruit doesn't grow and grow and grow? I wake in the hip roof barn, and where we hang the throat-cut animal, men dangle. Hailstorm, flood, drought, interest rates, debt loads. Go big or get out. Minor doxology. Circle of light on the village street from his kitchen window where he stands in the slowing breath of nightfall, stares through that cold fire into sifting shadow, dusk blue snow banked against the porch, and beyond the row of houses, evergreens and daguerreotype darkening on winter fields. The galvanized taste of chores rises in his mouth, well water, dander, frost and straw. And because place calls to place inside us, He is 70 in the kitchen, even as he is 12 in the farmyard, midway between house and barn. Metal pail of new milk, quarter moon, spilled oats, early stars. The next poem I'm going to read is based on my maternal grandmother's family's experience of the last pandemic. Pontex, Saskatchewan, November 1919. Black blizzard, wet lungs, snow, sand, cytokine storm. A rope around her husband's waist, tethered to their porch. Someone had to do the milking. Someone had to feed the horses. Camphor, mustard, turpentine, wormwood. Nuns in shadow habits plaster her chest. A rope around her husband's waist so she could drag him back. Farmers conscripted to dig frozen dirt, plant tuberous corpses. Train cars, coffins cracked, a whole threshing crew found dead near Rollo, southwest of Regina. Blue fingers, blue lips, cyanosis. By noon the next day, they buried her husband. A rope around his waist so he could drag her into his unmarked grave, rhizomes of men. Nuns in shadow habits beat her with hailstone fists to break up phlegm. A neighbor found them in their nest, the marriage bed, Johanna ne Visser and her mewling litter, her skinny baby birds. She thought she heard the shadow nuns whisper, "How will we divvy up her daughters?" when she grabbed the knife, the serrated blade, hacked and hacked at the fraying rope. Pontex, Saskatchewan, July 1929. Wilhelmina in a well, sour water ankle high, a rope around her waist tied to the lip. Mother leans in, her face a moon, eclipses the glimpse of blood-blister blue noon sky. If you fall, I'll pull you out. Wilhelmina climbs the ladder, down, 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 35 feet, to mop spilled milk, well walls hung with butter and cream. At night, Wilhelmina sleeps with her sisters in the steep attic, a house of bleached bones, bronchial tubes broken, pneumonia-scarred lungs. She coughs, 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 "I'll pull you out," and wakes into scabland, cacti, sage, glacial wash, constellations of stone. Spring wheat like lace, 4 bushels an acre, saltgrass and sulfate sloughs. But before mother shouts, before the tug of the rope, she dreams cherry blossom drifts, rain's cricket hiss, wet oil of earth. She swears for the rest of her life that when she looked up from the deep, she could see Sirius, Vega, Venus, or Mars. Of course, she could not. The next poem I'm going to read is an excerpt from a long poem that sits at the center of Field Requiem called Let Them Rest. The poem visits abandoned farmyards and towns and church halls that we see populating rural Saskatchewan, and imagines the lives lived in those spaces based on what people leave behind. Psalm 130. Chemical burn-off after frost, cocklebur, clubroot spores, flickweed, lamb's quarters, Liberty Link patent fees, canola seed treated for flea beetles, long trail for dandelion and thistle. At night the wives sit, shoulders hunched at kitchen tables, divine profit margins with calculators and lines of credit from Wells Fargo. If south winds don't blow in waves of diamondback moths, if winter kills the pupa of Bertha army worms, if sun, if rain, if crop insurance premium rates, if 25 bushels an acre to pay input costs, At night, the wives wait. They count their bones as the moon pours out. Northeast 10, 36, 22, west of 2nd. Canola, pulse, cereal, flax. The field northwest of the yard site, past the shelter belt of unshaved evergreens, caraganas and buffalo beans growing through rusted machinery, grain cart and auger, pull-type swather circa 1984. Canola, pulse, cereal, flax, brushed nap of stubble, GPS-tracked, factory-stamped seed rows, clots of soil, desiccated scabs, claw marks from the heavy harrow spreading last season's trash, straw, chaff. Canola, pulse, cereal, flax, Roundup and hydrous ammonia, nitrogen gas, granular phosphorus, sulfur, potash, 122 pounds per acre of wheat seed, broadleaf herbicide, fungicide, insecticide, glyphosate-resistant ragweed in low spots and sloughs, contagion of snow geese, their many-throated scream, the terrible forgetting. This is where the boy felt the animals' wet-eyed stare, coyote, fox, jackrabbit, badger. This is where he followed tracks, set snares in estrus scent and molt, scat, shed fur. This is where he lay, a deer's wallow of slender wheatgrass, bluegrass, brome and sedge, watched catkins lift in updrafts, soft rattle of aspens, dozed in the heavy breath of bloom, balsam, wolf willow, choke cherries, Saskatoons. This is where he came in sorrow after his father made him shoot the horned owl perched in the spruce north of the chicken coop. No proof the owl killed chicks. Now this is where the man, neck in the noose of profit margins and farm credit, runs the roam plow, the bush disc, clears scrub, rakes roots for 40 more acres to seed next spring. The owl's wingspan, at least 5 feet, though it weighed no more than what he could hold in his 10-year-old palms. All feathers and fluff, shadow and light. After dusk, this is where the man watches the piled bush burn, remembers the owl's yellow eyes, hiss and snap of heat, sap, leaves, hank of dew, osteoache, the shrinking moon. The last poem I'll read from this series is titled with a plaque. It's a graveyard that's no longer in use in rural central Saskatchewan. The plaque reads, "The parish of St. Scholastica erected this monument in memory of those buried here, 1976. St. Scholastica's fall supper, 6 feet deep in the earth. Sod ceiling drips pesticide leach, bones laced with malathion, 2,4-D, turnips smell of canola and stinkweed, wild oats and kosher roots tangled in hair. Don't mention the cutworms that chew dresses and best denims. Parishioners, we paid our fees to feast, tossed 30 pieces on the temple floor, the Dominion's Land Act, 1872, proved up on our field of blood, 160 acres of oxbow sandy loam. Cheekbones and mandibles gleam. Mothers give toddlers drumsticks to gnaw, cartilage and marrow. Don't mention the bread was salted with tears. Don't mention the bowlfuls and bowlfuls of tears. Parishioners, push back your chairs. Bring out the accordion. Waltz and polka, turn and turn. Your bones knit rich dirt. Sated babies snooze on half moons of mother's shoulders. Don't mention the tremble, the 700 horsepower John Deere overhead, the tank tread, the stretching bellows, the thickening drone. My ghost waits for me here. And the last poem I'll read is called To Glasgow. Standing on the platform, Manchester, Victoria, waiting for the after-supper train home to Glasgow. Spring sky, bruised fruit, pigeons in eaves, rain-bloated newsprint, overripe peonies that line the porch at the farm, long sold. A breeze lifts my hair, sweat of my nape. A train, not mine, shoots past. Diesel, smoke from the burn barrel at dusk, the farm again. Dew on blue stem, my body, my breath, my face in the windows of passing cars. I am. There is no going back. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you again to the organizers of this wonderful reading series, Write Out Loud.